You know what's not fair? Is how so many loving, good-hearted people get lost and buried in a hard life. Like, only manifesting difficult things most of the time. Not very much of the good, right? Life is hard. Or is it? Let's talk about that. First, for those of you who don't know me already, I am Sarah Lavariel, and I am an author and a spiritual coach and an angel intuitive. And my goal is to bridge the gap between traditional psychotherapy and psychology and deep spiritual work for highly sensitive spiritual beings. We will validate the raw, heavy realities of living in this earthly experience, and then use things like shadow work and inner child healing and metaphysics and, of course, angelic guidance to help you rise, understand your true mission, and step into alignment with your true self. So if that resonates with the journey that you're on, I would love for you to join me on this journey and be sure to subscribe. Okay, so with all of that said, this is a lot. Put that back there, actually. So with that said, this is a journey that I am currently on myself. So we're fully going into this together. I've been on this path for a while. I've done a lot of meditation and I've gotten some downloads, and that's what I want to share with you today. So, because to really accomplish our mission as highly sensitive spiritual beings, we really need to learn how to change the perspective we have about so many things, right? And primarily, we need to change the perspective we have about ourselves and what we deserve in this life. And if you don't know what a highly sensitive spiritual being is, or what I mean by that, I do have there's a playlist that I'll put right up here, should pop up right up here, that you can check out that talks about what highly sensitive spiritual beings are and the mission, and goes into that. But today in this video, we're going to talk about how energy works. Because if you've been made to feel like you're attracting negativity or negative things in your life, or you're blocking good things in your life because your vibrations are low, or because what you're doing is creating negative vibrations and just attracting that into your reality, then you're being led astray, okay? Because that isn't quite right. It's close, but it's not quite right. So it isn't about anything that you're doing, not what you're doing wrong. And it isn't because life is hard, or that life is hard for good people or not fair for good people, or that you're weird, or that you don't fit in, or that you're too depressed or too anxious or too sensitive. It isn't because you have depression or anxiety or meltdowns, or that you go into a burnout and feel like you can't function for a certain amount of time and you feel down and low. It's not from any of that. In fact, those are all just part of a human experience. That they're all part of what we're here to learn and how we grow, but they don't actually lower your vibrations. Just because you get completely overstimulated to the point of having a meltdown and you kind of lose control in that moment as you deal with all of those emotions, that's not lowering your vibrations. You're not doing anything wrong. Even if you go into a burnout for weeks, even if you feel depressed for years, you're not lowering your vibrations. Your vibrations actually don't really change that much at all through this existence. Like, your vibrations don't really change. You don't have control over your vibrational frequency like that. You are who you are at your frequency underneath all of it. And that's the key to all of this. So here's the thing. At the beginning of our lives, we are born into this physical incarnation, this existence. We are born a blank slate, completely neutral as, babies. But we are also born with the potential to be anything, to be good, to be bad. We have free will to make those choices. And that's really the purpose of this incarnation is so we can learn and grow and develop and learn our spiritual lessons and become who we're meant to be to accomplish our mission, all of that. And it comes through these choices that we make to choose who we're going to be and what we're going to do with the experiences that come into our lives, right? So what we choose not to be, those aspects that we don't want to be a part of. Like, I don't want to hurt animals. I have the potential and the ability to hurt animals, but I don't want to. Nothing about that appeals to me. So I don't want to face that and deal with it every single day of my life. So it goes into what is called the shadow, our shadow selves, our shadow side. That's actually what the shadow is for, is to hold these types of things. So as we grow and as we develop, external influences can come up that cause us to also put some positive, useful traits about ourselves into the shadow as well. So like if you were your dreams, goals, your natural talents, you wanted to be a dancer when you were a kid, but you were told that that's not possible. So those types of dreams and talents that you may have had for it or that would support that, all of that goes into the shadow as well. And then the other time that the shadow can cause a bit of a problem is difficult situations. So any kind of like trauma, crisis, difficult experiences, attachment wounds, any type of thing that has been difficult to face or to process, just too heavy to carry every day of your life, also goes into the shadow. And that is a way to protect you, a way to survive. It's kind of what you needed to do. We can't carry trauma and crisis with us all the time, right? If it's not processed and worked through. And many times, especially those of us who are highly sensitive spiritual beings, right, we go through very difficult lives, maybe with some CPTSD, that chronic, post-traumatic stress disorder from constantly being on guard and having to deal with problems and take care of our family and the roles that we may have been put in growing up, put us in this constant state of trauma. So we can't be so hyper vigilant about all of it. We put a lot of it into the shadow so we don't have to face it, so we can survive, so we can go on and live our day-to-day lives. But all of it, everything that is in your shadow, continues to speak to you, or it continues to speak through you. It continues to operate through you. We'll get more into all of that because there's definitely a lot to say, but just for this video, we're just going to focus on how vibrations work and what is actually happening to keep things like abundance from reaching you. But it begins with knowing that much of what is blocking your intentional manifestation isn't your frequency. It isn't what you're doing or what you're thinking about or what you're feeling or what you're focused on, like we're so often told. It's not about changing your frequency so that you bring in things that are aligned with a higher frequency. You are already a high frequency. You are resonating at what you're going to resonate at. That is your frequency. It just is your frequency. Fluctuations, yeah, it can vary a little bit, but not so much that, you're a good person with a high frequency and you're going to start attracting abuse and trauma and negative things into your life, or poverty, or anything that's going to stand in your way of accomplishing your purpose. Like, your frequency isn't going to go that low. Any of the bad things that happen to you or come into your life, it isn't because it's your frequency. It's not you. Your frequency doesn't quite work that way. It's coming from what's in your shadow, meaning you're not aware of it. And that is what is known as the personal unconscious. But what happens is we think of that unconscious as being inside of us, right? You think of, if I ask you, like, close your eyes and tell me where you imagine your unconscious being, and you're gonna imagine it inside of yourself, right? It's in here. Like, I feel like I have, my conscious brain, my my neocortex, my thinking brain, and then somewhere like underneath it, maybe like right there, my unconscious must be right there. So, but where do you picture it at? Probably within yourself, like it's inside, right? And that's the problem that we have, is we go inside in search of a problem, in search of something that needs to be fixed. We're trying to find answers and to figure out how to change and make our lives better and to raise our frequency and to finally start manifesting what it is we've been trying to manifest. What's the problem? What do I need to change, right? But the problem with that is, as soon as you start looking for a problem or you start looking for something to change, you're attracting more. The universe is going to provide things that will support that you are the problem, or that you need to fix, or, that's what the problem is, because that's what the energy you're putting out. But what is so important to know and to think about is that the universe does not respond to who you are. What you're attracting right now into your life is not because of who you are. It doesn't not represent who you are. You look around and things are bad, or they're dark, or they're not good, not the way you want them to be. It isn't a reflection of who you are or your frequency. The universe responds to what you're putting out, not who you are, what you're putting out. So that is key, to not go inward and change ourselves, but to look outward. So let me show you what I mean. So we start out, like I said, as like a blank slate. We are, and I'm not an artist by any means. I just want to give you a visualization so you can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit more. But so this is us as we come in to, can you see that? As we come into this existence, right? You are a being of love and light. You are a divine spark of the greater source, right? Of love and light. So that is your frequency. Frequency of love and light. So there's your frequency. And that's what you are. That's your authentic self. Your soul, your higher self, that's your frequency. Let's make you a happy person. So you don't need to raise these vibes. You are what you are. You are exactly who you're meant to be. And all of the stuff, like all of the good stuff that you're wanting to manifest, or that you deserve to manifest, say like money or love. I can draw hearts better than that. I don't know. This is that angle. So money, love, whatever else I can't even think of. Just whatever you're trying to manifest, just positive things. Like, they're already coming. They're already trying to reach you because they resonate with that energy of love and light that you are. Your frequency. So to begin with, as soon as we're born in this physical world, here we have this layer. This is just the dense physical world that we're in. Things don't manifest instantly. They don't manifest quickly the way that our souls are basically, used to it manifesting. So we've already operating in a more difficult place, so that these things have a harder time actually reaching us. So it has hard time actually, reaching us in here. So as the ego is developed, it's based on the experiences and what we've been told over time, over the course of our lives. So like, the digital tape recorder, the things that we hear, what we're told over and over again, becomes embedded and ingrained into our story of who we think we are, our belief system of who we are and what we can have, attachments, how people responded to us, all of that just develops who we are and how we see ourselves. It's called like the internal working model with in attachment theory, they call that the internal working model that's developed as your attachment style is developed over the course of your lifetime, right? And that internal working model depends on how you see yourself. So if you, of course, learn that you're worthy, and you're a good person and you deserve this stuff, then, that frequency comes in. You're able to attract it. But for most of us, right, highly sensitive spiritual beings and have had generally much more difficult lives. And there's a reason for that, but that's not what this video is about. But what happens is you're told, you're too sensitive, so that's going to create this block here. And you're told not to do something. You're told that you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, whatever develops. And it's not necessarily from people saying those exact words, but how you're treated. And highly sensitive spiritual beings have the sensitivity is related to being neurodivergent. And that neurodivergent mind helps us with this higher spiritual purpose and to connect with that when we learn how to do that. But as growing up, people with ADHD or autism, any kind of neurodiversity like that just doesn't quite automatically fit into the world the way that we're expected to, get so much more feedback about what they're doing wrong than a neurotypical person does. So you are constantly, we're probably growing up getting hit with things like, just focus more, pay attention, try harder. You're just being too sensitive. If the lights are bothering you, just ignore it. But we can't, right? We just get told this over and over and over again. And so these, what are the pink ones, get thicker and thicker and stronger, right? And that creates beliefs that you have. I'm not a good person. I'm dumb. I'm not going to write this because it'll take too long. I'm not a good person, or maybe I'm dumb, or I'm too sensitive, or I can't control myself, or, I do weird things, like flap my hands when I get excited, and you're not supposed to do that. It's weird. Don't do that. And you get all of that. So see, more and more and more. And it's still happening. More of these, they're getting reinforced, they're getting thicker, and you're creating more of them when your ego says this type of stuff to you, right? You say you're not lovable. You haven't found love because you don't deserve love. That's just reinforcing the one that says, I'm not lovable. So what happens? This stuff can't get through very easily because it's being blocked. And this isn't actually a dry erase, so I can't just erase it, but it's getting blocked. It can't reach you. It's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's not any of that. It's because all of this other stuff has happened and occurred that is stopping it from getting through. So not only is it like stopping things, or stopping the good that you want from coming through, but it's also then attracting the things, like we said, that support this stuff. It has its own frequency, right? So, experiences that say I'm not lovable. Just know it's the same color, so it works. Not lovable, or I can't. The universe hates me. Money hates me. I don't know. Whatever thought it is that money is not coming, but all of these thoughts. I'm not a good person. Not a good person. Not good enough, not lovable enough, too sensitive, too ugly, too, whatever it is that you're telling yourself. Those things, as you can see, can easily get through. Might hit some resistance because maybe you have some good beliefs and stuff that developed over that time. But for the most part, it's getting blocked. Or it's just got to straight away right through. There's nothing resisting it. It gets a little slowed down here by your physical, because we don't manifest things as fast in this realm. So It does slow it down a little bit, but nothing's stopping that from coming, right? And not only that, it's attracting it, because like attracts like. The good news with that is every time you have a doubt about these things, and you think, maybe I am a good person, maybe I deserve something. Every time you watch a video like this, or learn something like this about how to heal, how to grow, and what is actually going on, how to change, this kind of stuff, you're looking at the more positive side, learning that stuff, and it introduces that, like, well, maybe I do deserve love. And that is starting to like weaken some of this, strengthen. Different color blue, it's easier to see, but it starts to strengthen, these other ones, and then some of that stuff can get into. So every little thing you do is actually helpful. So a lot of these layers that were formed because, like I said, your ego is trying to protect you. It's much easier or at least with your ego, and your ego is your human side that's developed in this lifetime, but it's much easier for it just to say, I'm not lovable, or I don't deserve love, I'm not meant to have love, than it is to feel like I am lovable and deserve love, and then have to deal with people or circumstances or things happening that make you feel not loved, right? That's just too dangerous, especially if you have a history of a lot of attachment wounds and you've developed a less than secure attachment style. That's going to happen, and that is to protect you, is to keep you safe. None of this is happening as a bad thing. It's just your ego's job is to keep you safe, and it's doing a really good job because it's had a lot of practice over the course of your lifetime. So the more things that you've experienced that are hurtful or scary, then the stronger these are going to be, and the harder it is for these things to reach you. These walls and barriers are reinforced by your thoughts, by your feelings, by your beliefs, and it becomes stronger and more embedded into your reality. And we also have this psychological side, more of our human psychological side, that reinforces that as well, like narrative therapy and the stories that we tell ourselves, and how we actually remember the negative things that support our story, and what are called sparkling moments, which would be exceptions to the rule, which probably have a lot of those. Those go into the shadow, into the unconscious, where we're not aware of them. So all of that conditioning, neurodevelopment, your attachment style, because it's not just about relationships, despite what pop psychology out there might say. Attachment theory is quite a bit different than what you may normally find on Instagram and stuff. So it's not just about relationships. It's a much bigger part of our lives, and who we are, and how we can be authentic with ourselves. But these are just ways that your physical body and your ego have developed in order to protect you from harm. But that's what you needed at one point in your life. It was necessary for your survival. But if you're here now and you're watching this video and you're looking for something different, that means that you've grown out of it. You've grown out of all of that, which means the walls are no longer protecting you, and more than likely now they're hurting you. Or they're, at the very least, they're preventing you from being able to fully step into your potential and your power, and to accomplish your mission and what you're here to do. Because if you can't manifest what you need, then you can't accomplish it, because you don't have what you need, right? So it's very important to understand this and to start healing some of the stuff out here, outside of you. Is what you're putting out is healing some of that, and it's in your unconscious. It's so it can take a lot of time and it can take a bit of effort, but it is definitely possible. And that is my whole point and purpose to all of this, is to try to help you do that. So your job now is just to start tearing those walls down, and just being aware of that, and not going inward and looking for yourself as a problem is really a great place to start. It's not about changing yourself. It's not about fixing yourself. It's more about just allowing your true self to be exposed. And that's might be harder than anything else. It might be easier to think I just need to change a thought, or somehow change a belief, or visualize enough, to bring what I need in than it is to think that I need to tear down these walls and allow my true self to be seen and exposed. Not just seen by other people or the world, but to see that side ourselves can be a very scary and difficult thing to do. I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to say that any of this is easy or simple or just happens because you decide to make it happen. It happens because you put in the work, you put in the effort, you make the decision, and you commit yourself to it. And that is how it changes. That is how it occurs. And that is how we have to unlearn all of this stuff. You spent an entire lifetime learning all of this stuff, and now it's going to be time to unlearn it. And it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take courage. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take ebbs and flows and ups and downs and backs and forths. Like 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Sometimes it works that way. Sometimes it's not working that way, and it feels like it's working that way. That is the nature of our purpose on our spiritual journey. So it's not necessarily the easiest thing to let yourself feel vulnerable and exposed like that, especially when you've been told that there's something wrong with you and who you are most of your life, right? It can be very difficult, but it's definitely possible, and we will talk so much more about all of that in the next videos. So be sure to, like and subscribe and help me reach other people and help other highly sensitive spiritual beings with stuff like this. Let's end off this video, this kind of heavy topic, with a message from the angels. I'm going to draw a card real quick just to see what message the angels might send us off with. And I thought appropriately, I am using, there we go, I'm using the energy oracle cards. This is a bit in my way, so I'm going to move that over there. So even though those walls and barriers prevent the good from coming in and from manifesting what we're trying to manifest and even keeping us from our purpose, they're actually, the fact that you have them isn't all bad. Because actually, as a matter of fact, the thicker and the stronger that those walls are, the more likely it is that you have a higher purpose. All right. And so be sure to join me in the next video, and I will talk about how negative thoughts and patterns and how all of these walls and stuff that we've built up, and how if they're really thick and strong, actually might serve a purpose, actually serve a positive purpose. Not saying it makes your life easier. I'm saying it serves a positive purpose, and there is good about it. So be sure to join me next time in that video, and I will tell you about that. And the card we drew was Magician and the Mirror. So the angels want to send you on your way with all of this, knowing that there is so much more about you and within you than what you can see. So what's coming up for you right now, what feelings and thoughts that are coming up for you, and what you're dealing with, the people that have come into your life, all of this kind of stuff. It's not because you're doing something wrong. You are already like the magician here. You're already the magician. You have the power. You have the ability. You're somebody amazing, magical, beautiful, and wonderful. You're already that person. But the things that you see in other people and what is coming into your life is a reflection of things that you need to heal and things that you need to deal with. Those are these things out here that make you feel unworthy or unlovable and that are blocking what you deserve from coming in. So when negative things do come into your life, if you're trying to manifest something specific and something bad comes instead in the opposite way, your angels want you to not look at that as though you manifested it or you had a bad thought or you did something wrong. They want you to look at it as a reflection of what you need to know. It's information. It's information. People come into our lives and they are mirrors to provide us information of what is in that shadow that we're not aware of, that we need to remember, that we need to heal, that we need to deal with. So keep that in mind. Do not blame yourself. It's information, and it's all going to help you unlearn the stuff that you need to unlearn so that you can step into your potential. And as always, I am sending a ton of love and blessings to you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.